Adventurers League, or AL, is the standardized / organized play of D&D. It is supported by Wizards of the Coast. What is it? Should you play it? Is it right for you? So the main thing about AL is they use a standardized rule set, so you don't have to worry about rules changing from one table to another, from this convention to that game store. It's all the same, which is pretty much just rules as written. And if you go to your local gaming store or conventions, that is probably what they will be playing. There's also a whole host of AL approved adventures on the DM's Guild. Even you could write some using their format and get it approved and put it up on the DM's Guild. There are a few variant or optional rules that are used, but for the most part, it's just rules as written. The main reason is for balance and keeping everything standard so that you don't have to worry about one dungeon master giving out tons of rewards for their characters and another dungeon master giving out nothing. It's pretty standardized as far as what rewards you can give to players depending on the tier they're in, which is how Adventurers League is broken down. I'll put the tiers on the screen. This is how they balance things depending on the level of your character and kind of which items you can get or how many magic items you can use. So when playing AL, there's no homebrew. That could be a good thing, it could be a bad thing, but you should kind of know what you're getting regardless of where you play. So I had been playing Dungeons & Dragons for a while before I ever heard of AL or played in any AL games, and I was worried that they would be locked into rules. That if you try cutting the chandelier to drop it on the enemies, an AL DM might say, no, you can't do that because I don't have any rules for that. That is not the case at all. Your dungeon master can still make rulings for things that aren't covered in the rules. It's still the same game. You are still playing Dungeons & Dragons. You can do whatever you want, but the dungeon master has to follow the rules as written as much as they can, but obviously can make judgments, which means that games are still a little bit different and dependent on your specific dungeon master. With everything being standardized though, something that's really nice is your character carries over. You can make a character playing with someone online, then you can take that same character into your local game store, take that then same character and play at a convention and play in some epics, and that exact same character is then leveling up and getting items and growing in power while you're taking it to all these different places because every table uses the same rules, and that's just how it works. That's kind of the whole point of it. Another reason that Adventurers League is really appealing is just the ease of use. It's easy finding games because you don't need to sign up for a whole campaign. Oftentimes you can just roll into your local game store or a convention or find games running online, and you can just be like, hey, I want to sign up for that game. You play that one game, and then you're done. You can sign up for more if you want to, but you don't have to. I just started running Adventure League games on my Discord, and it's pretty laid back. We'll post a game, hey, I'm running a tier 2 game this evening, or I'm running a tier 2 game tomorrow, and then until it fills up, you can sign up for it at any point, and it's really easy for the Dungeon Master to run because it's all standardized. There's no homebrew adventures that you're writing, you're just running a pre-written adventure. Because the rules are all standardized, the players know what they can do with their character. They don't need to use you to buy items from the player's handbook. They can do that themselves. They level up their characters themselves. They know the rules, and they may ask a dungeon master how something works, but they're not asking, hey, can you let me do whatever? It's, hey, am I allowed to do this? With that, it's also really easy to make a character because again, you don't have a bunch of rules. You don't need to understand the setting of a specific campaign because you get to decide what games that you want to go play in. And you get to decide if you want to make a tier 1 or a tier 2 character. Now, Adventure League does use seasons, and so we're about to get into a Spelljammer season, so a lot of it's going to be in that setting. So you kind of know what you're getting into, but when we're doing like the Spelljammer season, it's not all just Spelljammer games. That's mostly what you're going to see at conventions, and your local game stores are likely going to play with those, but you can also find plenty of just regular Forgotten Realms setting games, as well as they also have Eberron and Ravenloft games. So Adventure League is pretty easy to play in and pretty easy to run, which is one of the things that I really like about it. I can play a lot more games when running Adventure League games opposed to a homebrew campaign. The next thing, I've mentioned conventions a bit. Conventions are a great reason to play Adventure League. It's one of the main reasons that I play in Adventure League games, and that's because you can go to conventions and you can play on what they call epics. Conventions are pretty much the only place that epics can happen, and epics are essentially the entire room is playing in the same adventure. The last convention I went to, there were like 7 or 8 tables that were all playing the same adventure, and your missions were kind of broken down depending on the tier that you were playing in. And so you're all sort of on a time limit where we had 3 hours to try to complete 3 missions. And depending on how well we did, we might help or even hurt everyone else in the other tables. We struggled with the first mission a little bit, and one of the other tables had done some stuff, and so it got us a boost where we could fear our enemies for 1 round, and then when we did some stuff, it helped some of the other tables. It is a unique experience and a lot of fun. Then ours ended with the last hour being a big collaborative, everyone's working towards the same goal. Extremely fun. If you've never played in an epic, I would encourage you to go to a convention if you're able to and play there. So at this point, you might be thinking, yeah, Adventure League sounds pretty cool. You don't need to drop out of any other campaign to do it. You can just play extra AL games when you have time, but you might be going, how can I do that? I will drop some links in the description of this video to where you can go use their store locator, store finder, whatever they call it, so that you can find any local gaming stores near you. If you don't have any local gaming stores that are playing Dungeons & Dragons near you, or you're just not comfortable playing in person, there's also plenty of online options. I'll put some links to some of those in the description as well. Discord's typically your best bet. And as I had mentioned before, I recently launched my Discord server for AL Adventures, so you can also get on there, and if you see any game postings, you can just sign up to play in whatever seems interesting. If you need help making an AL character, I did just do a video on it, and you can click on the screen and watch that. Boom, that's all we got. Thanks.